So we are live today. I'm Emmy Faust, and today I've got Jessie Healy with me. And we're talking about niching for service-based businesses and growth. And Jessie is the CEO and co-founder of Webtopia, which is an agency that specializes in Facebook, Instagram, and Google. Hi, Jessie. Welcome today. Thank you. Jessie and I did actually do this a couple of weeks ago, and we had a bit of a problem with our audio. So we're coming back and we're going to do it. We're going to do it properly this time. But it's quite good because we had a bit of a practice. So
yeah, exactly. Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. I always say, don't stop yourself from doing something because of perfection. You know, it's really important to just get out there and show up and do your best and learn. And we did learn because we got it wrong the first time, but it doesn't matter because we're going to do a better job today. So Jessie, I'd love you to do a little introduction. And then when you've done that, we're here today to talk about your agency. And one of the things that we were talking about is niching. So I'd love to understand why you decided to niche, and then we can talk about what that's meant for you as an agency.
Yeah. So it's funny, the niching thing was on some great advice from one of my mentors, Kat Howell, who's a Facebook ad kind of, what do you call it, influencer, I guess. I sat on a webinar a few years back where she talked about niching, and she talked about the benefits of niching, how it means that you can create a repeatable service within your service-based business that you can that's then much more scalable, and you don't get stuck as the founder having to be involved in every project because every project is so different. And some of the other benefits to niching as well are that it means you can get really good at what you do. So practice makes perfect, as we were saying. The more times you deliver a service to similar types of businesses, the better and better you get, the better you understand their problems, their unique challenges. And it also means that from a marketing perspective, or a sales perspective, when you're pitching your services to people, if you've got case studies of businesses just like them that you've taken from where they are now to where they want to get to, that's a kind of undisputable proof that you'll be able to help them as well. So there's lots of reasons, both in terms of your own business and creating a business that you can step away from, that can work like clockwork, and as the founder, you can continue to grow without being kind of stuck in the day-to-day work. But also from a marketing perspective and being able to promote your service to other people. So yeah, that advice I took it on board, and we niched to e-commerce. So we niched to, already we were sort of niched to digital advertising versus like SEO or email marketing or content or any of the other areas. But then within those channel niches, we're also niched to the sector. So the sector being e-commerce. And I would say within that niche, we're even further niched to kind of female-centric products. So sort of lifestyle products that target females. And we work with the kind of businesses that are scaling up. So they've already got some traction. They're already doing pretty well. They've got some good brand awareness and a good amount of social followers. And they want to kind of go from where they are now to really start scaling up and be, a much more high volume type of an e-commerce brand. And so with that specific point in their journey in mind, we're really good at helping businesses get from here to where they need to go. So yeah, it's working really well for us.
That's amazing. It's so good to hear that, because I think it's always feels scary to niche, doesn't it? And I think, I've had a real problem. Like, I sold my business, I don't know when it was, like 5-10 years ago or something. I can't even remember, I'm going mad with this pandemic. But anyway, I sold my business ages ago, and then sort of came out of it, and I couldn't sort of think what I wanted to do. And I've done everything. I've done, B2B, B2C, service-based, e-commerce, and actually, just talking to you recently and a couple of other people, I've realized that, as you were saying, it's so not scalable, and it's so much work, because I had to do a totally different strategy and plan for every single client, which is great because it uses my brain, but it's just too much brain power. And as you were saying, you get those learnings, don't you, from working with similar clients. And actually, looking back, our first agency, which was incredibly successful, and we were very lucky, it's because we were niched in the gambling space. So we were the first agency that understood online gambling. I actually hate online gambling, and I really didn't enjoy that topic, but we kind of got niched in there, and then everyone came to us because they knew we were the experts. So it was kind of like a no-brainer. And I think now when I look back, that was why we were successful, because we were very differentiated. And so I wanted to ask you about that, Jessie. This is such a crowded, competitive market. There's so many agencies out there, so many digital agencies, so many paid ads agencies, freelancers, experts. You've got all the people on Fiverr and everywhere you go. How are you? And you're obviously doing it because you're successful and you're doing great work for clients. How are you differentiating yourself in a crowded market? How are you, how do you set yourself apart? Because that is one of the key things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it comes down to what I've kind of already touched on, which is like really knowing who your target customer is, who your target client is, and like what they're what's really unique about them and who's not your customer as well. So, I heard a great quote, I don't know who it was, a while back, that was like, your business is defined as much by who you say no to as who you say yes to. So if you start saying yes to the right kind of business, then you get the really good case studies, and then more businesses like that will come your way and also be convinced by you and what you have to say. So in terms of differentiation, I guess having really, really good case studies is one thing. I think the other thing that I've really benefited from, I guess, is before I started my agency, I had never worked in an agency, like not even for a little bit. I'd always worked client side on the digital marketing side. So my job was to hire and fire agencies, essentially. So having been on that side of the fence for so long, firing was often the operative word. Having been on the fence for that for so long meant that I really understand what it's like to be the buyer, and I really understand what those kind of what the pain points are around agencies, having been, when I was client side, been burnt by bad agencies in the past. And I also really, I think like anything, I really listen to all of the leads I talk to and all of our customers, and try and hear what they have to say about bad experiences they've had with agencies in the past, so that I can really build our service around what's missing in the market. And I think for me, what it really was like these big agencies, they're trying to get their clients to spend as much money as possible, and that's how they make more money. And that's the kind of madmen agency model that's been around since, whenever. But direct response advertising is really different. It's not about just spending more money for the sake of it and then, did that work? I don't know. We shrug our shoulders. Direct response really is about results. So we've flipped that on its head, and I tell my team, what's built into our DNA as an agency is put our client success first. So if our client is saying, should I spend more money? And the numbers are saying, no, your most profitable point is actually not doubling your budget, then we'll hold the spend back. And even if that means that our bottom line will be, slightly affected in the short term, we believe that putting our client success, and that's tracked, measurable numbers-based success first, and partnering with them to help them achieve success, gives our agency a real edge.
Totally. So, yeah. I think it's so interesting. Actually, I did a post this week on LinkedIn. You probably didn't see it, but it was like, there's a massive elephant in the room and no one's talking about it. And then my husband was like, it's not an elephant in the room, everyone's talking about it. Anyway, the elephant in the room is that businesses are wasting so much money on marketing and media. It is unbelievable. Every client I work with, every prospective client I talk to, they're wasting money. And the reason that's happening is because they're not tracking it properly. They're not clear on their ideal client. They haven't got a strategy and plan. They're using the wrong agencies or the wrong freelancers, or the budget's not allocated correctly across channels. And unfortunately, often the agencies aren't, they're not aligned, are they? As you said, often they get a percentage of fees based on spend. So they'll just encourage you to spend as much money as possible. They're not always looking at which channel is converting best, or even showing the client that. And it's a massive elephant in the room. I mean, maybe it's not, my husband said everyone knows about it, but if everyone knows about it, why are they still doing it? That's what I don't understand. Yeah. I think one of the reasons it's happening is because often within the client, there's not the same level of understanding as the agency, and you might be a bit embarrassed to, not have that confidence in that particular channel. So, you don't really want to ask your agency and question them, because it could be a bit embarrassing if you feel like you should know that. But I think it is a real problem. It's a real problem that lots of clients are wasting money on marketing and media that's not working. Yeah. And as you said, it's much better that you're on the same side as them, because that's a long-term relationship. You're never going to get audited and get caught out, and then you're like, and someone's saying, and that's actually one of the things I have to do with some of my clients is I have to audit, get their accounts audited when I start working with them, not their financial accounts, their media and marketing and Facebook ads and stuff. And sometimes that's really awkward because the agency has just been totally taking the piss or doing absolutely diddly squat, like nothing, and charging a monthly fee. And I think not only are they charging a monthly fee and maybe not doing what they're meant to be doing, but what's worse is that budget could be being spent totally ineffectively or too much budget. I think that
we see a few things, like agencies either gambling with their clients' money, like let's give it a go and see if we can make it work, or agencies that for whatever reason, like their internal structure is not that great, and so they're just not doing anything at all. They're not delivering what they promised. They're not optimizing. They're not checking. They're not actually putting work in. They've just kind of taken the client on and set and forget it. So those two scenarios are so common. I saw that a lot when I was client side, and that's what we're trying to be the absolute opposite of.
And there are some great agencies, like totally. There's people like you, and there's the agencies that I work with, and they genuinely care about their clients. And then, I'm sure the bigger agencies also care about their clients. But I think sometimes if you're a small client in a big agency, or the agency's not quite the right fit, or maybe you're using the wrong channel for your business, then results don't come. I think that's so important, and I think that's such a good point that you make, that you can empathize with your clients because you've been client side, so you know how it feels, and it's always good to be able to do that, isn't it, to understand how your clients feel. So yeah, I'd say you've got some great USPs, and also I suppose because you're a woman and you're also helping often female-centric businesses. I find a lot of women like to work with women. They just do. That's we understand the additional challenges of running businesses, like with trying to homeschool multiple children, stuff like that. I'm interested to know. We were having a little chat about this before we came on, about how you find clients, because I think when you're selling a high-level service, like we are, where it's not cheap and it's quite a big commitment to a client, it's really about building relationships. That's what I found personally, and I'd really like to understand how you find your clients for your business.
Yeah, so I noted down the main ways I find clients. So there's kind of four main areas, but they sort of all intermingle with each other. So one is I've chosen a social media channel to kind of focus on, and I'm consistent, and I'm consistently showing up, and that happens to be LinkedIn for me. That's the one where I found I already had a network there, I think, from having worked in London for my whole career in digital marketing. So I had a good network there already. So that's the one I've kind of chosen. And then parallel to that, I try and speak at events or go on podcasts, things like this today, to kind of meet new people and get kind of my personal brand exposed in that way. I also go to quite a few networking groups. I'm in kind of paid for masterminds, but also kind of like free groups of like different types of entrepreneurs. Like there's a Kiwi Women in Business one I go to, various different ones, other agency owner kind of meetups. And through that, you kind of make these connections where people will then, like, they sort of know, like, and trust you, and therefore likely to recommend you when they hear about someone needing your specific service. And then as well as that, getting to know lots of other agencies and passing business their way and passing business back and forth. With some agencies and freelancers, I have like a formal referral arrangement. With others, it's more kind of a karmic thing where I give them a client every now and again, and they give me a client every now and again. And sometimes we send each other a gift, like we try, you just try lots of different ways really to kind of get out there and be connecting with people. And funnily enough, like, during the pandemic, I think this has really taken off for me, because I've got a little boy that's 3.5 now, and I couldn't go to in-person networking groups before, and there weren't as many online things happening, whereas now there's everything online. So in my evening or in my work day, I can just jump online and meet lots of people. So that's really helped my business take off, I think. Just lots of the combination of speaking at events, networking online, and showing up on social media, and then the way those kind of cross-pollinate each other.
I think I would say strategic partnerships are so important. And actually in the lockdown last year, well, in March, I lost 80% of my client work pretty quickly. And it wasn't I didn't feel, well, it just wasn't, everyone was so up in the air about things that unless you were sort of Just Eat or something, you weren't spending any money. And so I spent all that time creating strategic partnerships and reaching out to people with the same audience as me. And I loved it because I love networking anyway. And off the back of that, I won 3 new clients, I think, which basically took me to being fully booked for the rest of last year. And it was so easy. We were talking about this before, but because those strategic partners knew, like, and trusted me, they just wanted their clients to work with someone like me because they knew that they were going to get results. And so basically, I just had a call with them and it was kind of like a done deal. Yeah. So I think the strategic partnerships is really, really good. And like you, I mean, I don't have any formal arrangement. I just recommend people that are really good at what they do, and they recommend me. And yes, sometimes I get a nice little present in the post, like I love books, and I got some lovely plants from one of my strategic partners because he knew I love plants, just to say thank you, which was so nice. But I think also, like, I want to have, I've got a really good accountant that I refer my clients to, so I'm not helping them with accountancy, but if they're struggling, I know he's really good. He's called Reza. And I suppose, in return, people who help their clients with funding, and then their clients have got funding and they don't know how to spend it, might send them to me. And in fact, I recommended you to someone who was asking me for a Facebook ads expert. So I think it's building relationships, isn't it? It's, if you are selling a high ticket service item, don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but like we are, services, and it's relatively, it's something that you have to have a think about. Building those relationships with strategic partners, it really helps the know, like, and trust factor. Yeah, and then obviously, like you said, showing up on social media, your case studies. I mean, I see you on LinkedIn a lot, showing up, and you're quite often sharing results for your clients and case studies and things like that, and the transformation that you get your clients, and people can obviously resonate with that, can't they? And then do you get many cold leads coming in from LinkedIn?
So I get people, I don't do any cold outreach. I mean, it's always in the back pocket, like we were saying before we came online. I could do paid ads, I could do cold outreach. These are all techniques that we know work, and it would be a matter of, like any marketing channel, testing them out if we were at a stage where we were short of leads. But what I've been doing has given us enough deal flow to grow the agency at the pace we want to grow it. But yeah, I get leads from LinkedIn who reach out to me, following having connected with me somehow and liked what I had to say. So that probably happens, 3 or 4 times a month, I'd say.
Amazing. Yeah. Well done. And we were talking earlier as well about working in your business and working on your business. And I'd love to understand, how do you kind of manage that? Because it's so important, isn't it, for us to come out sometimes and think about our strategy and our vision and what we want to do, and not to get bogged down in the day to day. So how do you work? How do you manage that?
I mean, it's a work in progress, I'll be honest. I'm still wearing quite a few hats, but we're getting there. I mean, one of the biggest moves I made was in the summer last year when we were starting to really grow, is I hired a really senior client success manager. So Maureen in my team has like 10 years agency experience, 10 years Facebook ad experience. So having never worked in an agency, she brings that agency know-how, which I think is good. So we're a good combo. So she's able to lead the strategy for our clients and look after all the campaign managers. And then I'm only kind of needed to be pulled in for kind of certain situations, or, to fight the odd fire. So that was a big move. And then recently I hired a marketing assistant who's kind of like my assistant, but also helping me with the general marketing, social media stuff. And that's really taken a weight off me in terms of just kind of the admin around the agency. She does a bit of bookkeeping as well. So getting those tasks that are kind of like don't need to be you off your plate. And as you grow, it's like, what other roles do we need to hire? So we're going to hire a project manager in the next couple of days, actually, to be the glue to hold together all the projects, so that's not having to be in my head or Maureen's head. So as we grow, we're just looking at where we can take things off certain people's plate, including my plate, so that always I have that time freed up to be thinking more strategically about the agency. Amazing.
What's the long-term goal for you, or have you not decided yet? Just going to see how it goes.
Yeah, I haven't really decided. We want to get to be £1 million turnover by the end of the year, run rate.
Amazing.
And then we're going to, at that point, I think we'll assess, like, do we like this pace of growth? We're growing at about 5% a month. So it's sort of 1 to 2 new clients a month. And do we want to keep that pace? Obviously, if we want to keep growing at that pace, that means 4 clients, 5 clients new a month next year. So we just need to decide, really, like, between me and the management team, like, what, you know, do we like it where it is? I think you just have to check in with yourself and make sure it's meeting your own personal goals as well as your professional or financial goals.
Because I think it gets to the point, doesn't it? I was talking to someone the other day and he was saying, when you're like at 7, I think he said 7 to 10 is the sweet spot. And then when you get over that, it's really full on. Because I was saying, this guy was saying to me, will you ever run another agency or will you ever run your own business? And I was like, oh no, it was kind of quite stressful at the time. We had multiple businesses and I think we had, I don't know, like sometimes we had 10 in one business and 8 in another. And then when we sold it, we had 40 in one. I wasn't working for that then. But, you know, we always had around 15, maybe more people. And people would leave and people try and poach people. And I just, it was so kind of full on that I was like, I couldn't have that again. But this guy was saying that actually the sweet spot is like, I think it's like 7 to 10 or 6 to 10 or something like that, because you've got enough people where you're sort of having fun and it's still quite young and you've got people to delegate to, but you don't have that extra sort of layer where you're needing to get, you know, I don't know, all that extra stuff. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting.
That's interesting because that's about where I'm at now. So do I keep going and leave that sweet spot or not? I'm not sure.
Well, best of luck with it all. We'll come to an end because we always, I like to keep these short and sweet, around 20 minutes. It's been amazing talking to you, Jessie, sharing about your niching journey and why that's been so key for you. I know lots of people are actually saying in the run up to this, oh, I really want to hear about this. I really want to hear about this because I'm thinking about niching too. Definitely something. I already feel a weight's lifted off my shoulders since I've said I'm not going to work with any e-commerce businesses. I'm only going to work with service-based businesses because I'm like, I've only got half the amount of things to worry about.
Yeah, send them our way.
Exactly. Well, obviously I will. And yeah, it's just been fantastic to talk to you. And I love meeting other women in business who are doing cool things. And once you've got your iPhone, you can come on Clubhouse into our female founders room when we're going to be talking to female founders. So thank you so much for coming on today, Jessie, and let's definitely stay in touch.
Cool. Yeah. Nice to see you.